Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Well, the computer's acting a little glitchy today, so we'll see what we can do. See who's all in here. I'm a little more awake this week. Hopefully I'll kind of act like it. Flip Flats in. I don't think I knew you before. This is probably first for me. Ghost User, Sarah Scannell, Heart's Truth, 411 Aquatic Trust. Me, of course. Roger Prescott, Florcandia, Shari D, welcome. I think that's about it. I didn't get the notification up that early, so that's probably part of it. We're kind of chit-chatting about my coworker. Yeah, she still wants the vax. She still feels that she always wanted it. Like we were discussing before, I don't know if you didn't watch the last show, it was basically that my coworker for a year said she didn't want the vax, and then suddenly she said she always wanted the vax. So it was kind of a freak out. So the other thing I noticed about her this last bit of time is that she's I don't know, she's in a better mood. I mean, she used to be like about half the time in a crabby mood and then in half the time in a better mood. She's just somebody who's kind of old and cranky, and she's had a pretty hard life. But I just noticed she's like in her, like one of her best moods ever has been like every day I've seen her now. She's just more talkative. She's kind of more witty. She says funny stuff fairly often. I mean, you can still see the old her in there, but it's like it kind of shifted over to this, like, I don't know. It's just interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna just keep an eye on it and see if that keeps up. But she's definitely easier to work with now because she's not like crabbed about everything. So there's that. I don't know. Shari D lost some time, 7:30 to 10. Yep, it's a long time to be feeding the cat. I think the cat would have said something. I've had some weird time things, but not specifically recently. Part of the problem is I don't really have a schedule, so if a time slipped away, I don't think I would notice it that easily most of the time because, I mean, it's not really common that I have to get somewhere at a specific time. Just like maybe once or twice a week. But for me, I actually gained time. That was actually the weekend I learned about the Mandela too, and I gained an hour. So that was a trip. I was a half hour late, and then I got there, and it's a 40-minute drive. So I mean, there was no traffic or anything. Then I was a half hour early by the time I got there. I mean, I literally arrived before I had left. So that was really weird. I didn't know about the Mandela then, so it was really, really strange. Now that's kind of stuff's kind of like, yeah, more weird stuff. Oh well. Just kind of reading through it. The Mad, Mad Daddy is in. Angels Don't Fall. Am I here or am I am? Yeah. I don't even know the answer to that anymore. Sleeping patterns have changed again. So this week, I would say last week I was just in this fog of dumb and brain fog, and Monday it kind of really cleared up a lot. So I feel fairly sharp this week. So that's nice. I mean, I like it when it's like that. It definitely feels surreal and creepy, but at least my brain is operating. Starting like Monday. People think we shifted again. I don't know. Usually I'm pretty spaced out when we shift. So I don't think for me, I don't think I've shifted since Monday. If I shifted, it was the week before. I wanted to say it was like a really hard shift right when I got back from Arizona, but maybe there was a couple of them in there. All I know is I just took me a long time to come out of the zombie lands, and it wasn't really till Monday. Ooh, someone from Oceanside. Did I catch that? Oceanside. We should do like a local meetup one of these days. I know a couple people from further south that might come. They've come on past ones. If anybody wants to do a meetup for San Diegans, or anybody wants to drag their butt over here, let me know. Momentary buffering. Yeah, sorry. I don't know. The computer's been a little wonky, and I do have a lot of windows open. Artastic Creations has had to learn a lot of history shows to relearn history. Yeah, I almost don't wanna, it just keeps changing and changing. So even if I learn it now, it's gonna be like different next week, next month. It's like, have you heard of Titanic 2 movie? It was made in 2010. No, I've never heard of Titanic 2. It was a huge shift before last week. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I just was like, I finally feel like I'm shaken out of it this week. That was all I know is that was a hard couple weeks of shift or something. Okay, so let's get the show on the road. This one. I gotta remember who told me about this one. This one was from Mark Tyus, giant camera. Have you ever seen this? Giant camera weighs 75 pounds, and it shot aerial photos in World War II. There was a couple of these. I mean, I can't really swear it's a Mandela, but I can't really imagine that I haven't seen these before. They should have been on every history program, but I've never seen these. This giant camera was used in World War II to shoot aerial photos, just like its size. The weight was massive. 24-inch lens, weighed 75 pounds. Looks a little fishy. All right, now this one again, I believe is Mark Tyus. This one I'm pretty sure is a Mandela. So what I remember for the size of pigs is they would get up to maybe 550 pounds. And then they started talking about these monster boars, that wild boars were getting to a monstrous size. And then one was found, it was 700 pounds, and nobody believed him. And but he shot it, and then he had it weighed and proved it was 700 pounds. Is, oh my God, it's 700 pounds. So apparently now, though, they're just saying, oh yeah, pigs get up normally up to 700 pounds. So, I mean, I don't know if that, I haven't seen that show in a while, so I'm thinking that it's gone because 700 pounds is no big whoop. So Mark Tyus found they're breeding pigs over like 1,000 pounds. And some of them just get up that big, like this guy. He's like 1,100. And they're even getting pigs up to about 1,800 or 900 pounds now. There's documented cases of these animals being like close to 2,000 pounds. And then they'll usually have some kind of health issues is the story. But so now that is like 700 pounds is like nothing for pigs. It's no big whoop at all. So highly, weirdly though, I can't find many photos of these monster pigs. I did find this one. This one's only 1,100. I'm not finding any photos of the 1,800 pound pigs. You'd think that they'd take a bunch of photos of these pigs, but it seems like maybe they're not really in all the way in the timeline or something. Something's up. I'm assuming that's a fake photo there. I'm not even going to click on it. There's a lot of stories about them breeding these pigs, but there's not a lot of photographic evidence. But there is like documented cases of these monster pigs. But again, no photos. Okay, now there's another weird pig they're doing. Now I've covered this before. The double muscle has extra myostatin. It's like a creature that has like double muscles because of extra myostatin. So when this first came out, there was just like 1 or 2 rare animals anywhere ever found. There was this weird dog that had it. And it was a big deal. And then the next thing you know, there was a whole breed of like cows that had it. And now apparently there's a whole breed of pigs that have it. So these are the pigs. And so the whole story behind this is they're breeding these extra big pigs because of the pork shortage. But I don't think I really quite understand how that's really going to be any better than 2 smaller pigs. I mean, they're going to have to eat the same amount. Usually there's not that hard to get pigs to breed because they have a lot of litter. And they're going to take longer to get bigger, so you could breed 2 small ones up like twice at half the speed. So if speed is of the essence, I don't know. The story is just kind of weird. It kind of reeks to me of like an excuse for why there's monstrous pigs. And these things are really creepy looking because they're all muscular. And I'm like, I don't know, don't people like pork fat? But anyways, so apparently I think it was Cambodia here, they're breeding these extra double muscle pigs. Oh, and there's like this. They're all, no, it's not GMO, it's just double muscle. But they're not, where did they get the breed stock from? Nobody knows. And I don't know, it's kind of weird. Anyway, they're creepy. Link. Okay, another weird thing. Hole punch clouds. We've covered them before, but now a square one showed up in Dallas. And so there's more word names for these now. Like, used to be just hole punch cloud, but now this like fall streak hole and a bunch of other weird names. So this showed up in Dallas. People on here were saying that it was all over the news. So the story that the media gave was that a plane punched through here and like super cooled. The air was super cold and it made the air crystallize, and I don't know, it just sounds weird. I mean, it's not a plane-shaped hole, so it doesn't really explain why it's square. Anyway, it's strange. I'm expecting strange anime monster or demonic animals. Yeah, actually there was this guy I saw that had like his neck out to here. Let's see if I can find that one. I was meaning to put that one on because it didn't look real, but supposedly it was. Maybe I'll just type this in and see what I find. Because he just looked like something out of a weird sci-fi, like, I'm trying to think where I saw it. He looked like something from Doctor Who. I've seen them on there. Not that guy. Oh, that's kind of weird, but yeah, so basically, it used to be if you had like goiter, you just have like one lump, but now apparently your whole neck can just expand out like endlessly. And so then you just look like, I don't know, it's just pretty strange. I can't find the exact guy. The exact guy was really weird. It was kind of like this guy. But basically he just had like his whole neck was out like this. So he looked like a character from, and even out like the side of his face, like out here, it wasn't just the neck. So it just looked like a character from a sci-fi. I mean, he didn't really, he looked more like a character from sci-fi than a mutated human, really. I mean, like when you looked at him, you just went, "Oh, they did that guy up, and he's like an alien." You know, they didn't. I should have saved that one, but I don't know why at the time. I guess sometimes they're just kind of disturbing, and then I don't feel like it. Okay, so this is a new one that kind of showed up on Retcon recently. So it's an old Mandela, that portrait of the Henry VIII. A lot of people remember the giant turkey leg in his hand, and I know that that was a legit photo. There's people second guessing it and going, well, maybe it was just a parody, but I know the story for me was this, that the first times I saw it, I thought it was a parody because it was a giant turkey leg too, not little bitty like this, and this is not a turkey leg, and I thought it was parody, and then I finally saw it a bunch of times. I'm like, why do I keep seeing this guy with a turkey leg? So I looked it up, and there was a whole story about how it was legit, you know, and I was shocked at the time. I'm like, oh my God, somebody really painted this painting. This is hilarious. And there was a whole story about how the turkey leg symbolized wealth, because turkeys were kind of new to, you know, the region at the time, and only the wealthy could afford to eat turkey. And so this is why he had the turkey leg, and, you know, it kind of symbolized the greed of, you know, the era and stuff. There was this whole story. So I remember the whole story. So it wasn't a parody. It was this legit thing with a whole backstory. Okay, and it looked kind of like this, except for now he just has, basically people have pretty much felt that this was how it was before, except for with the turkey leg. And the turkey leg got replaced by this thing in his hand, which looked a lot like gloves last time I looked at it, but now more looks like, you know, I almost don't want to say what it looks like because this is a PG show, but it doesn't really look like gloves anymore. I mean, one person said it looked like they thought it was a bird. You can almost see like a little mouth there or something, but no, it's supposed to still be gloves, but it's looking less like gloves. I also do not remember. I think that his outfit has changed since previous times I looked at that. For one thing, I am quite positive he didn't have a codpiece thing going on. You know, every time I see one of those, I just laugh. So I don't not see them because they're hilariously weird. I remember more red in here, and I don't remember all this white. Okay, and his legs weren't that white. So I think that photo has changed, but that painting, I should say. But now there's a whole bunch of these paintings that have been done like all through history. So let's see. Here we go. So there's all these copy ones. So that was like the first one. But there was also like all these ones over here. So none of them really quite look like I remember the last one. So now it gets confusing. This might be the closest one here. They all have that same goofy glove thing. So basically the Mandela is really sneaky because it's like it's thrown so much stuff at the wall that your brain's going to explode. You're just, I mean, any one of these now can change because there's 15 or 20 of them, and you're not going to be able to tell. I mean, they all have slightly different clothes. It's like, no, this is all wrong. It's so wrong. Okay, so the other thing that kind of popped up is that apparently a timeline of people have popped in with us that remembers him not holding a turkey leg. He was holding a chalice. And so that person actually dug this one up, underachieved as a user on Retcon, dug this painting up. And so this is a very interesting residual because basically he dressed up as one of those gajillion different Henry VIII paintings with the glove in his hand, and he's supposed to be emulating it. But the painting has Henry with a sword and the gloves, and he is holding a chalice in one hand, and one might assume the gloves in the other. So, did anybody sit here and say, "Hey, dum dum, where's your sword and your gloves?" No. What they said is you didn't put the cup in your left hand, like the arms were reversed. First of all, I think it's pretty weird that he wouldn't have, but nobody here is saying, like, everybody's here is acting like the cup is just in the wrong hand. They're not saying Henry didn't have a cup. Why are you holding the cup? What's the point of the cup? Where's your gloves and all that? They're not nobody says that. It's just your cup is in the wrong hand. All the effort and the arms are backwards. So, okay, so apparently there was a chalice in here. I don't know, this chalice thing keeps showing up everywhere. I mean, like, for some people, the chalice was on the Last Suppers, on the table at the Last Supper. And then it was on the wall instead of on the table at this Last Supper. And I didn't come from the chalice timelines, obviously, but there seems to be a bunch of timelines that love the chalice. So this is really interesting here, because this is pretty much akin to the Thinker one, where all the kids are have their hand in a different position than the current Thinker one. So very good find by Underachieved. Did not underachieve in this situation. The turkey leg was in the left hand for you, huh? I think I remember it in the right hand, personally. And I don't think I remember this sword at all. I just remember a big, stupid turkey leg, and it was huge. So it would be his right hand, which would be the left side for me. In this side of the 90s, in this version of the 90s, they can successfully transplant human voice boxes. Oh, that's interesting. I've not heard that. You know, it used to be when people had that problem, they just put those electronic boobas in there. Yeah, I don't think we need that one in there. And Happy Days is a very good residue of Henry and his turkey leg. Yeah, there's still fair amount of residue around. So I guess they're just saying it's a joke. But I mean, like, who came up with the joke? And I'm just going to have him have a turkey leg. I don't know. It's just... Also remember how they would throw the bones of the dogs under the table. Irish wolf dogs. I've definitely heard that story, although not specifically attributed to the turkey leg photo. Turkeys were the only meat animal imported right away from the New World. So I think last I checked on this, the turkeys had come a lot earlier to the region. So maybe that's one of the reasons, like, the turkey leg wasn't a big whoop-de-doo-dah anymore. Because it'd be like holding a chicken leg, like, who cares, you know? No-neck people. Yeah, there's no-neck people with that. Yeah, this guy, what is that character? There's a character that was in, like, 2 seasons ago that, like, it has a kind of a giant cowling of neck. That guy looked like that creature. He didn't look... It looked impossible. It's just like, there's so many weird looking issues that people have now. Okay, so more creepy stuff. This one was found by Will Work for Answers. And so basically there's this lake full of dead, like, bones and stuff. So This lake is full of human remains, many of which are still wearing clothes and have hair due to the coldness of the lake, allegedly. There are also remains leading up to the lake, many of which are stacked like this. So they were found stacked. There are over 300 bodies in the small lake. When it was initially discovered, the British thought the bodies were from a failed Japanese invasion. Then they thought the bodies were from a single freak hailstorm. But it turns out when they tested some of the bodies, it was discovered they span 1,000 years. There are at least 3 genetically distinct groups represented in their research, and they died in events that played out over more than 1,000 years. While tourists interested in macabre souvenirs have removed many of the bones and other artifacts from the site, it is said that you can still see dozens of skeletons at the bottom of the clear glacial lake. Anthropologists believe there may be as many as 600 bodies buried in the surrounding ice and earth. Okay, so here's the lake here, and then these little dots are people. It seems to be rather isolated. All right, so there, I mean, like 600 bodies in there. Or 300 bodies, 300 in the lake, 600 around the lake. Have you ever heard of this lake? I think it was Lake, what, Rupkund or something? Lake. Maybe I didn't even write it down. Skeleton Lake, that's another one it's called. I think it's also called like Rupkund. Rupkund, yeah. Rupkund or Skeleton Lake or Mystery Lake. Anybody ever heard of that? Because I sure as heck have not. All right, new creepy bird. Jabiru stork. It really looks like a couple animals stuck together. So they all have this weird black, like it looks like black, like they dipped their head in black ink. I've never seen an animal with a coloration like that where it looks like painted on and then somebody was too lazy to finish. So you've got this like fleshy tone and then I mean, it just looks totally ridiculous. Jabiru stork. And here's the rest of them. So that one has a lot redder neck. But look, I mean, it looks just ridiculous. So they all have this jaggedy, dipped look, like somebody dipped them in the ink. They're creepy looking. This whole region is like just, I don't know. Seems like a lot of the stuff I found lately is just kind of extra gross. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of like really cool rainbows and stuff showing up lately, so I'm kind of like, ew. Dead body lakes, giant neck people, creepy storks. It's supposed to be a stork. Can you imagine that thing bringing a baby? Ugh. You see, it's like in my old timeline, if a body got in a lake, it would just, it would rot away. It wouldn't last. But now there's all these weird, oh, well, it was so cold, or, oh, there's not that much oxygen in there, or whatever. There was always like things that would eat rotting things in lakes before. Fizzy was talking about Sunken Pirate City at Port Royal. Sunken Pirate City at Port Royal. Oh, I have not heard of that. Let's see what we got here. Interesting. There's so many neat underground things now. Jamaica. Located in the southeast coast of Jamaica, the Royal Natural Harbor at Port Royal became the center of English life in Jamaica. By the late 1600s, it became one of the largest European cities in the world. How did all this, I mean, unless the water was way lower in the old timelines or in the history of here, there's like a million cities that are sunken. So, I mean, the only logical explanation is that the water was way lower before. when these were around, which wouldn't be that long ago, theoretically. Let's just see what their storyline is for this. I mean, you don't just have like the whole ground just sink and then everything on top of it is in good condition. I mean, if there's like settling and stuff, it's not going to be even. So when they say it's sunken, you know, it's under the water, but I don't see how this could have like sunk. Sunken is sort of a weird term. It's more like the water must have come up on it. We gonna load over here or not? Whoop. Seems like this website is not agreeing very well with my computer. Part of the island slid into the water because of the volcano, I think they said. That doesn't make any sense, though. For the part of the island slid in the water, then everything's not going to be all upright and nicey. And there's too many of these. I mean, if there was just like one in the whole world, I might be able to buy it. But there's like a whole bunch of these all over. So I don't buy it. You ever seen a landslide? All the ground's like tumble. You just have a big pile of rocks at the bottom. You're not going to have, well, in the old timelines, I don't know about here actually, but maybe that's the thing here. I'm still very suspicious of that story though. I'm trying to think. I did see this one thing where like there was like a weird landslide and houses were moving along, but even then they weren't all moving together. One house would move along, others were all sunken. So I'm still not buying it, even in the recent timeline stuff I've seen. All right. Nature took a revenge on the wickedest city in the world. The earth opened and swallowed many people before my face, and the sea I saw came mounting in over the wall, upon which I concluded it impossible to escape. Witnessing the devastating 1692 earthquake, wrote these words in a letter from the safety of a ship. Port Royal, once called the most wicked and sinful city in the world, was famous the world over for its booze, its pirates, and its sex workers. Needless to say, when the city was nearly destroyed, there were some parties that saw it as a convenient solution to an ugly problem. The English and their pirate friends were new to the area. Blah, blah, blah. All right. Okay, so it was a wicked area. A massive earthquake estimated at 7.5 magnitude hit the island. The city, largely built over sand, suffered instantly from liquefaction, with buildings, roads, and citizens sucked into the ground. Geysers erupt from the earth. Geysers, okay. See, this is all stuff that didn't happen in my old timeline. There could be one or two cracks here you might fall in, but there wasn't like this whole liquefaction in my old timeline. Just meant that the ground got really wiggly, and so it would just cause like a lot more jouncing than if you were on hard rock. It did not mean that you were slurped into the earth. But we've been seeing that the last few years that is now what it means. And it actually turns the liquid. Water actually bubbles out. So here we have geysers. Geysers erupted from the earth. Now that's a new one. I have not seen that one yet. It's just words now, but I bet we'll start seeing it. Finally, the city was hit by tsunami waves, dragging what had not been destroyed out to the sea. All right, well, if all of that happened, it should not be like intact buildings under there. Some 33 acres of the city disappeared underwater. 4 of the 5 ports were destroyed or submerged, and 2,000 people were killed. The cemetery where Captain Morgan was buried slipped into the sea, its bodies floating up to mix with the freshly dead. Today, most of the remains of the 17th century city lie under up to 40 feet of water. Up until 1900s, visitors reported on the city still visible below the waves and the eerie sensation of floating over the rooftops. Yeah, I mean, okay, it liquefied, it sucked people down. There was a giant tsunami that should have splattered everything all over the place. I mean, you saw what happened in Japan. Japan doesn't have pieces of city sitting intact under their ocean. No, everything was clobbered by the tsunamis. So after all that, I don't see how you have these mostly intact buildings and upright structures. I don't know. It just sounds weird. What is the function of the red part? Don't ask me none of these animals. Oh, they're going to say, oh, it's attractive to the females or some baloney. I mean, that's like the excuse for everything. Anything weird on any animal now it attracts the females. Well, why would the females be attracted to that bull? Suddenly, I've decided I like pendulous necks and inky tops. I mean, tell it to keep the baby. I don't want any baby delivered by that thing. My parents have different memories of the past. Yeah, I know it's hard. All my friends, everybody has different memories. Now, my parents have passed on, so I can't really check with them. Lots of weird stories of bodies being replaced by cemeteries, if you look it up. It just seems like this last shift has been particularly gross. It's just like that stuff's all showing up now. So, what else we got here? Okay, I found these like weird animals in South Texas. I'm pretty sure these weren't, they're not as gross as that stork, but let's see if Nilgai. So this is weird. So apparently they brought these beasts, which I've never heard of, to South Texas in the 30s. So it used to be there was only a few animals that humans brought over to America, like the USA area, for purposes of game hunting or anything. But there's so many like that now, and it all happened a long time ago. So Nilgai, I've never heard of him anyway, but they brought him over. I think it was from Africa. It's these things. And so the story is that they just, like, since the 1930s, they've just grown and stayed in South Texas. They're non-native, and there's enough of them that they hunt them, and they still breed. And for some reason, they just all stayed in South Texas. They never spread out across the lands or anything. And so now they have these thousands and thousands and thousands of prize hunting species called Nilgai. And they're kind of weird looking. Like on one end, they look like this, you would imagine like a gazelle head, but then they've got just giant fat body. Then they've got like this tassel on their neck. I don't know what is about this timeline, but it just loves these tassels and weird boobahs on the ears, little devil horns and stuff. So yeah, a lot of meat on it with a big fat body like that. Oh, and they've got this weird, I don't know, like a lot of animals are getting these weird white spots on their neck that they look like they've got. I hate to say it, but I swear it looks like it has one of those stupid masks hanging on its neck. You know how people have them, they pull down the masks, and it's just like, I don't want to see that on animals or people, but that's what it looks like. one's kind of gross. I don't need to show that one. Boop. Okay, well, anyway, you get the idea. I can't help but notice the horns are very devil horn-like, though. Although I didn't read about them being particularly mean or anything. You know, a lot of these animals, I just don't remember animals having like this giant fat body and a tiny little head like that. Your head was small. Usually the body was small. The weird proportions on a lot of these new animals. A little body and a giant head. A giant body and a little head. Just, I don't know. That I wanted that one on because, I mean, like, that's the United States. So I'm like, no. I'm telling you, like, well, I didn't know Africa very well, but they did not have weird, yeah, they didn't have those things. I'm sorry, no. Looks like a creature out of Star Wars. Yep, yep. Okay. All right, this one. This is one of those where I'm like, no. For sure is no. I was kind of checking up on the thymus gland, which is... I'll show you some images. I kind of covered this before. So the lungs, a lot of people remember the lungs being like close together, like, psh, and longer, and they've shortened up, and now there's like all this space. Now, not everybody really notices the space as much, but I've been talking about this, that they used to always depict these as right up next to each other. And then suddenly, like a few years ago, they started showing them with the big space, and this thymus gland got like massive. And so I've been kind of watching thymus gland, and I've looked at it, been looking at it. So I look at it again, and I'm like, so there's an interesting story. Okay, first of all, and I've covered this before, the shape keeps changing. This is the current shape, where it's like splitting out, and so here we go. What's up with that? It's weird. So they're saying that, and this is the old story though, they're saying that the thymus gland is called the thymus gland because it's shaped like thyme leaves. But I mean, if you look at thyme, they don't look like that. Like, thyme leaves look totally normal. They're the boringest leaf. Whoops, maybe if I spelled leaf right, it would work better. Leave, well, leaves, that would be all right. I probably already had it. Let's see, we need a close-up. So, doink, thyme leaves. Okay, look at completely boring looking leaf. So, how does like this look like that? I don't see it at all. There's no way you would go, oh yeah, that reminds me of that. No, you wouldn't. Maybe before when the thymus was normal looking, you might have, but it seems like that story is behind the times, if you'll pardon my pun there. I don't see how you're going to name that and say, I mean, I don't see how anybody with a straight face is going to say, oh, that's named after a thyme leaf, because it's just not. It doesn't look anything like it. So, let me just go to some other weird stuff about. The thymus, a forgotten but a very important organ. So there's a lot to this that I think is new. I don't think that might be maybe I'll just go to the wiki. Okay, so the story now is basically that your thymus gland just grows and grows and grows until you're like was it 18 or something, and then it just starts shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until it almost is gone, and it just like calcifies and it's all gone. And then when you're like about 60, you got no more of it. It's like gone. Okay, so first of all, baloney. That my old timeline, you just had an organ and you just had an organ until you got old and died, and that included the thymus gland. But it was a lot smaller gland to start with. But that whole story did not happen. The other thing that didn't happen was the body didn't make T cells and then send them all over the body, like to different places to learn stuff. It's like T cells now, like travel around the body, like they go to different classes or something, like different classrooms. Okay, so made up of two lobes, each consisting of a central medulla and outer cortex. It's made of immature T cells called thymocytes. Never heard of thymocytes. As well as lining cells called epithelial cells. Okay, I've heard of those. T cells that successfully develop react appropriately with MHC immune receptors of the body. The thymus is the largest and most active during the neonatal and pre-adolescent periods. By the early teens, the thymus begins to decrease in size and activity, and the tissues of the thymus is gradually replaced by fatty tissue. Nevertheless, some T cell development continues through life. But they're basically saying that by the time you're old, you've got like almost no thymus. So they have this concept called involution, thymic involution. And that's like the shrinking down of it. It then begins to decrease in size and activity in a process called thymic involution. After the first year of life, the amount of T cells produced begins to fall. Fat and connective tissue fills a part of the thymic volume. Fat cells increase in size and number markedly after puberty, invading the glands of the walls, then into the cortex and medulla. The process continues into old age, where whether with a microscope or the human eye, the thymus may be difficult to detect. Although typically weighs 5 to 15 grams. So it's like 50 grams at puberty, and it's down to like 5 to 15 when you get old, and you need like a microscope to detect it. The thymus facilitates the maturation of T cells. So they begin in the bone marrow. Okay, that I do remember, that blood stuff begins in the bone marrow. Migrate to the thalamus, where they are referred as thymocytes. In the thymus, they undergo a process of maturation. All right, somewhere I read that they also, like, they go to other parts of the body and they learn, like, they're tested for other things. So that was, like, really weird for me. In order to be properly functional, mature T cells need to bind to the MHC molecule and not react against antigens that are actually from the tissues of the body. Positive selection occurs in the cortex. Further maturation occurs in peripheral circulation. Dang it, where were the other places now? All right, I'm too lazy to go find them, but basically they do have to, like, learn all this stuff in different places. So that was just, it's a different story from me. They were made to do their job. They didn't, like, learn. So there's like a kind of a whole different story to it now. And they didn't travel around to do their learning before. And the thymus sure as heck didn't, like, disintegrate when you were old. I mean, there's always kind of a story, that, well, maybe things don't work as good when you get older, but they didn't like shrink away in involution until there was no more. Oh, you know what? There was one other thing that was weird. T cells. There was another kind of T cells. So there was helper. So first, when I first learned of T cells, there was only like one kind, and then these helper ones showed up. Okay, so there was okay, so helper T cells, yes. This is the new one, cytotoxic T cells. I have not heard of these. So yes, memory T cells. First there was just T cells, then there was memory T cells and helper T cells. For a long time there was just those two. Suddenly now we have this one called cytotoxic T cells. So for me, the memory T cells did like the butt kicking, but now not so much, and these cytotoxic T cells do the like killing of stuff. So something's up. No more. There were no cytotoxic. All right, next one. All right. Question for you, without checking, without Googling, just from memory. Richard Gere, for many of us, was suspected of being gay for a while. Did he come out as gay, or did he not come out as gay eventually? Is he always just suspected and never was gay, or never admitted being gay, or did he actually come out and say he was gay at some point? What do you remember? This one actually comes from somebody I know online. Name starts with an H. I'm not going to say her name without permission, but she found this one. Good find. Those of you who knew Richard Gere. Interesting. So people, The double muscle pigs look more and more like fantasy orcs. Yeah, I don't know, the double muscle animals. I don't know. They don't look like they would be very good eat meat for eating either. Is the other thing about those double muscle ones. I mean, the muscle is not the good part of the animal that much. It's it's kind of tough and stringy. You want that like soft area that's. Oh, you don't know Richard Gere? Richard Gere. I don't know a lot of them, but this one was an older one for me, and so I kind of knew this one. Richard Gere. Oh, he's kind of, yeah, if you're young, you don't know him because he's old now, but he used to be kind of a sex symbol dude. He was married to Cindy Crawford for a while. So, basically, some of us remember him eventually coming out as gay. And the reason I remember it is because it was rumored. And when he finally came out, I was like, he was one of the first. And it was sort of like, well, he finally felt that the environment was safe enough for him to own up. So that's what I always thought, but apparently in this time he never did. But if you look at his interviews, he's kind of vaguey about, like, people would ask if he was gay, and he's like, well, it doesn't matter, or look, I have a girlfriend, or he doesn't actually come out and say, no, I'm not. So at least in the interviews I looked, it was always sort of, I wonder if maybe he was kind of bi or didn't want to be gay in this timeline or something. I don't know, but It's just kind of weird. But yeah, he didn't ever come out in this timeline. But some of us do remember that. So it wasn't the rumor, it was that people remember him coming out like, okay, I admit it, I'm gay. So we were kind of laughing because, like, this other person, it's a really strong Mandela for her because she really had the hots for him. I mean, he was like, a really popular sex symbol back in his day. And when he came out as gay, she's like, dope, no chance, And so if you like really are, interested, when you're a kid, you're like stupid and you just, oh, he's so sexy or whatever. So, it really kind of, sticks in your head if they come out as gay. Like, nope, you ain't getting that one like we were anyway. But she remembers it really strongly for that reason because she really followed him. So we were just kind of laughing because he was always rumored to be gay. And in our timeline, he was. And now, like, half the planet is gay, but not him. Not the guy who kind of looks gay, was rumored to be gay and came out as gay. He is now, like, the only one who's not gay. All right, so... Ooh, this one. I actually probably should have taken some time to research this one. All right, so I found another building that I do not remember falling down in the 9/11. So there's every time I look, there's another building that got mashed in 9/11. The 911 will have smashed like half of New York because it's ridiculous. All right, so St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church now was smooshed during the event in question. The reason I'm not saying it a lot is because it's pretty much accepted that YouTube doesn't like it if you use that word. It's one of their bad subject material words. Okay, so this is the church, and supposedly the South Tower fell on it. Now, I've been watching the 9/11 shifts for some years now, and I checked all the buildings that fell maybe a year ago, probably more like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And this was not in it. There were some other big buildings that got damaged, a bunch more towers than I remember. Originally for me, there was only the three. There were the two towers and building 7, and that was it. And then there was more and more and more. So this one has been added as far as I'm concerned. And again, the photos kind of have that like Photoshop look. What is that? That's a replacement one, I guess. I don't want to hear about the replacement ones. So it's kind of weird because it's just kind of sitting there in the parking lot. This old thing, and all the other buildings were shiny and new. Again, it I don't know where that thing came from. I really don't. It's just showed up lately. So yeah, the tower fell on it. Now, in my original timeline, the towers fell straight down and no other buildings were damaged. But apparently now this poor church got mashed like a pancake. So I don't know. They saved an old building only to get mashed in this timeline. Where in the past, here's the Actually, that's kind of weird. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think that could be the same one. I think that has to be a different one. Greek Orthodox Church sues Port Authority for seized land. World Trade Center Church. Yeah, no. Anyway, I don't know. Does anybody remember that church? 500, some kind of monies is like $5. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Newbie123. Please look at Noble's brain. I'm not sure what Noble's brain is. Noble's brain? Noble's brain. Nobles and Decorolus. I don't know what that is. Doesn't really show up as anything. Gonna help me out. I don't know what Noble's brain is. One, 2, 7, and that's all I remember. Yeah, that's correct. That's what I remember. There's a whole bunch now. How many buildings fell down? Damaged in 911. Spanish for those numbers. How many buildings collapsed? All right, so that's pretty sneaky, but there's a lot more than just the 3 that collapsed as far as damage. What was lost in the damage? 6.5 hectares of buildings were directly affected. See, for me, all of this just went straight down. There wasn't this much standing either. Yeah. Let me see the buildings, guys. Oh, you are so useless. Let's try this instead. Yeah, maybe the wiki. Actually, that one. Other buildings destroyed include St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church. That's the one I just mentioned. Marriott World Trade Center, 3 WTC. So that was another one besides 1, 2, and 7. South Plaza 4 World Trade Center. And U.S. Customs 6 World Trade Center. The World Financial Center buildings 90 West and 130 Cedar Street suffered fires. Yeah, no, I didn't. I wonder that customs building. I'm not sure on that customs building. I'm not sure. I thought there was just 2 others, WTC buildings. I do remember the financial center one from a few years ago. I don't remember it originally. Yeah, see, just up to here, 7th, north, south, and building 7, and that was it. And they went straight down for me, so they didn't smash all the other surrounding buildings. As North Tower collapsed, heavy debris hit 7 World Trade, causing damage to the south face and the fires. Okay, 6 World Trade Center. This one, it started out as a smaller hole, but it's getting like bigger and bigger. The remains of 7 World Trade Centers, upper right. I'm thinking they might have slid another one in there, though. The outer shell of South Tower 2 is still standing at right. See, I didn't have a shell still standing. It all came down. 22-story Marriott Hotel in the foreground was crushed when both towers collapsed. Yoinks. So anyway, I'm thinking they added a building, and that was that church one. The tower did not fall over on anything. It kind of did now. It fell over on a lot of stuff. It used to just, it really looked more like controlled demolition before, but now not so much. Like stuff kind of ballooned out and flopped on all kind of other stuff now. Now, it used to be a big deal that nothing got damaged around it, and that was part of the argument that it was controlled demolition, because that's what happens in controlled demolition. All right, so, all right, this one is from Mark Tyus. Oh yeah, first question. I'm kind of like let you see, but how do you spell Machu Picchu? How do you remember spelling Machu Picchu? Machu Picchu is that like those pyramids in South America. Machu Picchu. Got that one. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh, I'm almost done. Oh, I didn't get that one yet. One. Who remembers how to spell Machu Picchu? I remember a chunk of a beam landing like out front or side of some church, but I don't remember the name or much about it. All other reports were those 3 buildings fell in their footprint. Yeah, they didn't fall in their footprint anymore. They kind of flopped out and smacked a whole bunch of neighboring stuff. A bunch. So there's like over twice as many, because there's like 3 more WTC buildings, where Trade Center buildings also were clobbered. And then there was this church, and I think there was another one of something too. Machu Picchu, Shari Preliminal. Broadnet's Caster, you're still off. Most people remember it like me, Machu Picchu. All right, so I remember it Machu Picchu, but there's 2 C's now. So it looks like Picchu, Machu Picchu, but it's still Machu Picchu as far as I know. So I noticed that one. I was looking up this other one that Mark Tyus doesn't remember, the Stairs of Death. Now, I just saw this like a week ago too, so I was kind of eyeballing it. I saw it on, I think it was Yahoo News or something. So this is close to Machu Picchu. So I was looking into visiting Machu Picchu, and there was nothing about the Stairs of Death then, but supposedly the Stairs of Death were made by the Incas. So it's like this stairway, but it's, kind of scary, because there's like just rocks sticking out of the wall, and it's like super steep here. Supposedly nobody's ever bit the big one going on this, but man, you don't want to be having a heart attack on those rocks. And they're called the Stairs of Death. So they're now like this tourist trap, and they long have been. I've never heard of them. I think there's a lot more to Machu Picchu than I recall in the past. So yeah, a little nerve-wracking there. Never seen these until like this last week. Kind of cool, but I'm really suspicious about these because, Mexico's not that far from me, so it's definitely something I've been looking at for some time, visiting, because it's affordable. I mean, it's fairly affordable in Mexico. The flight won't be that long. The flight won't be that expensive. So, my next trip this year, 2020, I was thinking of going to Mexico to see some of this stuff. And so I had researched some of it. It just looks like there's way more stuff. I mean, I don't remember Machu Picchu having even half this much neat stuff. Of course, now we have the COVID and all that, so it's not that easy. I probably should go before Biden locks down the travel. I'd have to check. Maybe this summer if he hasn't closed the borders yet. This is the kind of thing I could do in like 5 days and be back and not have spent, gajillions of dollars. So. Second part of Machu Picchu came out last year. Part 2 of Machu Picchu. It's just... Machu Picchu went Italian. Yep. Yeah, and it used to look, it was a Spanish spelling before, and they don't have double C's. Machu Picchu. Strange black spots will be moving them around. Monuments are expanding. Too bad we can't go. Maybe that's part of this scam. I don't know. All right. I think I just have one more. Let me look through it real quick. Got you. All right, one more from Mark Tyus. All right, so the story now is that bees not only can see in the infrared, but they also pick up the electromagnetic fields of flowers, and that they themselves somehow emit like a positive electrical field when they fly, and then they detect the electric fields of the flowers. But even beyond that, the story is that the flowers actually change their electrical field after they've been visited by bees, so that the bees will know that the flowers are empty of pollen. So it's like they have an on-off thing, like, oh, yes, green light, you can come and feed. Red light, no, we're empty right now, come back later. So it's just like getting, I think, they kind of mention in here that the bees emit this positive field, but they don't really do anything with the topic. I I think that eventually we'll might hear more about what they're doing with their electromagnetic field. Plants generally have a negative electric charge and emit a weak electrical signal. And scientists have known for years that bees' flapping wings create a positive electrical charge of up to 200 volts. I've never heard of it, but apparently we've known for years. They flit from flower to flower as they flit from flower to flower. So they did an experiment where they made fake flowers, and some had electric fields and others didn't. And the bees only visited the electrical fields one, and then they manipulated the electrical fields, and the bees could tell. And then they checked real flowers, and they found that they also changed their fields according to if bees had visited. Because the flowers want to make sure that the bees don't waste their time, apparently. I'm like, it's looking less and less like Darwin's theory of natural evolution could really happen, because it's just all so weird. So supposedly the flowers are so nice as to inform the bees of when lunch is ready, basically, by their electrical field. The last thing a flower wants is to attract a bee and then fail to provide nectar. Well, like the bees are going to get mad and never come back or something? I don't know. I mean, I guess it is a more efficient system, but still, bees are good learners that would soon lose interest in such an unrewarding flower. But I mean, if all the flowers like that, then they would just have to check, like normal people have to check. So flowers emit a different electrical signal after their nectar has been harvested. Flowers don't even have a brain, but they know all this. The pollen is just sitting on top of the flower. It's not attached. So, I mean, how does the bee poking around on the exterior of a flower cause the signal to change? It's very suspicious storyline. How do bees sense an electrical charge? Researchers aren't sure, but they suspect the fuzzy hairs on bees' bellies bristle up under an electrostatic force, just like a human hair in front of a television screen. All right, so when was this even done? 2013, so this is old news. 8 years ago. I don't think so. I've just been covering the bees thing like a year ago, and there was none of this yammer. But it's old news now, people. All right, so that's all I got. I did get through it in a somewhat timely fashion. Waiting to see what's going to go on with the Rona now. Apparently, right after Biden got into office, the WHO immediately said that you should have 2 C tests before you count as a case, 2 positives, and they dropped the cycle rate. So now the bar is suddenly way higher for a positive case. So cases should drop because of all that, assuming that they implement the WHO changes, which may not happen instantaneously. But very suspicious timing on that. Megalithic tombs in Japan, they are massive. Megalithic tombs in Japan. The Mozu tombs are a group of megalithic tombs in Sakai, Japan, in the Osaka Plain. The largest tomb was thought to have been built in the 5th century for the Emperor Nintoku. Oh, yeah, okay. I've seen some of these. They are Mandelas for me, but not super new ones. Although, boy, I have not seen this key-shaped one before. So these mound ones, wow, yeah, this is new for me. I've not seen this one. The mound ones showed up a couple years ago for me. Let's check that out. Key shaped. megalithic portal, and Ishinuku Nagino. There's so many now with these, interesting. There's so many now with these buildings built into the mountains. There used to be just only a few of those. It appears that the key-shaped stuff's popular. Japanese Haniwa tomb. All right, these key-shaped things, very interesting. I have not seen those before, and they've got water now, because I've seen mounds, but not these ones with the water. Nagaoka Huakwana. Interesting, interesting. Megalithic Japan, part 1 of 3. Ah. Interesting. Some of these I thought were newer, but apparently they're not. Let's just click on this and see what we find. Looks like a pond. The bee's electromagnetic field looks a lot like self-cultivation manga manifesting in real life, like people unlocking rare abilities and going against nature to achieve your goals. Yeah, you know, a lot of the manga stuff is coming out. Like, people are looking more like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if if something, one of the really popular themes of manga is that, like, each person gets, like, one super skill that they can do that like they can fight the good fight with or whatever. So I would not be super shocked if we did start to see something like that. Mysterious site in Asukamura village is made up of several carved granite structures, one being Sakafune Ishi. That's interesting looking thing. Plus 16. Let's see if we can paw through some of these Facebooks. Looks like a giant toilet. Sorry if I'm insulting anybody. It just slipped out. Looks like got that alien feel to it. The quality of the cutting, you want to say that it's new looking, because there's just a lot of the way better cut quality stuff nowadays. Oh, pretty. All right, looks less like a toilet now. All right, what about these things? No, that's Machu Picchu again. It's going to be YouTube. Taco Ishi. Them's some big stones on that one. Are part of a wall. Miraculous. That's Sardinia. Okay, and that's Honshu, Japan. Yeah, these things are showing up all over. I think a couple like 4 years ago, everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, they're showing up in all over Russia." So it looks like Japan might be one of the newer ones. Another keyhole one, interesting. That's a little bit more like what I was seeing before without the water. There's a bunch of them. So they're called kofun, concentrated group of kofun built in various sizes and shapes. So are those also old? A virtually reconstructed aerial view of the Furuichi area. It's kind of scrappled together. It doesn't have a Japanese feel to me because of that. They usually plan their stuff out. I noticed a lot of the new stuff is showing up like that. We're just like, it's all just hodgepodgey. Lots of really neat stuff like thrown out there. I'm kind of surprised to see that in Japan because they're just usually, they lay out stuff very carefully, but Timeline does seem to like that stuff. So we've seen a lot of changes in Japanese geography. So what is Kofu in Japan's keyhole tomb? Why does the world know less about this? All right, it's got the Mandela moniker. Why does the world not know? Dates back to the Kofun period in the history of Japan, 300 to 538 after death AD. Saw the construction of gigantic tombs and unique keyhole-shaped structures. These tombs are square from one end and circular from the other. So looks like this water thing is kind of... I was seeing these like last year and the year before, but there was no water in any of them that I saw. Kofuns can be circular, rectangular, conjoined, and square. From a few meters to 500 meters. I mean, Japan is not exactly the middle of nowhere, so it's kind of fishy that people wouldn't know about these. Considering the sacred dignity, there's no access to archaeologists, tourists, and even royalty. It is reported that no one has visited the site since 1872 except for Imperial Household Agency that manages it. Because of this, no one can surely say what it holds inside. Excavation is not allowed. So that's kind of been the story. These things show up and nobody ever heard of them. Oh, China's hiding the pyramids. China has buried them in dirt. China doesn't want anybody to know about it. Why would China not want to know about their cool stuff? I mean, China has always been happy to brag about all of their cool stuff. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't brag about their ancient heritage and cool pyramids. So I always thought that was a little fishy, but Japan, you think Japan is not going to brag about their cool stuff? I mean, they may not let everybody trounce all over it, but they're going to brag about their cool stuff. So I'm very suspicious. Oh, nobody's been allowed there for 100 years. Japan is not like the middle of South Africa. Very, very, very fishy. For my timeline, there was no Book of Enoch till 2012. All right. Yes, I really felt like that came out of nowhere. Suddenly everybody's like, Book of Enoch, Book of Enoch. And then I heard some of them like, this is really interesting. Where did this even come from? I'm like, did I not know about it? I was very suspicious about Book of Enoch. Japan seems to be rotating as well as drifting. It definitely seems to be like kind of, there's more of it. And it's like making a nice protected waterway against the mainland, which so many other islands are also doing. So much history with Russia. Well, they're close to it now, so it makes sense. I think we should call this Emmy fog, since new things start manifesting hazily and disorderly, and then they get to fully manifested more orderly and detailed. I'm not sure on those, on a lot of these newer structures, but maybe. I mean, I really wouldn't be surprised. I'll keep an eye on them. It sounds like something that it might do. I don't know how to describe it. It smells right or something. The park near Mount Fuji where people go and die is creepy. Yeah, definitely. Volcano snails and Dazu rock carvings. Okay. Volcano snails. Mystery of snails with iron shells. That one has been on with the iron shells. So I guess basically there's a snail that has like iron shells. So that's like ridiculous, but so they uptake iron and they make like their shell becomes like metal. Dazu. What was the other one? Dazu rock carvings. It was only translated after Dead Sea Scrolls in the 70s. But see, Dead Sea Scrolls were not around in the 70s for me. They didn't show up until at least the 80s. Because I remember when they found them. Oh, we found these Dead Sea Scrolls, blah, blah, blah. Well, if it happened, when they said it happened, then I wouldn't have known about it. Dazu. All right, there it is. Don't know why I'm having trouble getting that into my brain. Dazu rock carvings. Dazu rock carvings. Oh, interesting. So here's another example of kind of what I was saying. There's just like these things show up and there's just a whole bunch of stuff, I mean, like there's a whole bunch of big ones, some small ones, just like somebody just carved everything willy-nilly. We'll put some giant ones here. How about some tiny ones there? And it's just got no cohesiveness to it, Oh, they'll slap some sleep in. What? There's a corner over there. Slap some more of them in. This is like exactly what I was talking about. I've not seen these Dazu rock carvings either. Let's see what they have to say about them. UNESCO, everything. There's like millions of UNESCO World Heritage sites now, too. Chinese religious sculptures and carvings located in Dazu District, Chongqing, China. The carvings date back as far as the 7th century AD, depicting an influence by Buddhist, Confucian, and Taoist beliefs. Some are rock-cut cave shrines in the usual Chinese Buddhist style, but others are rock relief carved into the open rock faces. Well, cool. There's like so much of this stuff now, it's just ridiculous. I mean, you just can't, you'll just go on forever with these. Bao Ding Mountain Circle of Life. That looks cool. Neat. Bao Ding Mountain of Life Circle in Dazu. Oh, but look, it's got like this little demon head. I didn't see that right away. Says, when did the Buddhists have like fanged demons chomping on their stuff? Heart's Truth Dead Sea Scrolls were in the 90s for me too. Yep. Alrighty, well, I think I'm coming down the home stretch here. Nag Hammadi definitely appeared out of nowhere completely, as in most of the apocryphal Gnostic writings. I only remember Dead Sea and Enoch in the 2000s is. Yeah, I just remember them with the Dead Sea Scrolls, and then that was it. I don't remember this Enoch thing. And then suddenly it was just like, oh, and the Book of Enoch's really interesting. I'm like, what is that? This Mississippi River has hundreds of circular streams. SSI. Circular streams. Circular streams. I'm not finding it. All right, let's just look up circular streams. I'm kind of thinking you would assume then then the water comes out and then it spins back around and then it like goes back in. River. Okay, let's do river, because otherwise they're just thinking I'm... Okay, I'm not really finding those. Ice circles, those are older Mandelas. You can see on Google Maps. Ah. According to a documentary, all these other books have always been included in Catholic Bibles, including Enoch. Yeah, see, I really feel like more and more stuff's showing up in there. But, it's just not totally my area of expertise, but it's just weird. You never even heard of anything, and then suddenly it's like everywhere. And it's got really interesting text to it, so why wouldn't it have been everywhere long ago if it was so well known this whole time? wonder if wanting to get into a better world really did lead us to a world where people are happier, or maybe it's how the shot manifests as controlling people's thoughts. I really do. I tend to think it's going to be the separation of the wheat and the tares, where basically, in order to get to the better world where people are happier, I think that the mean people are going to have to get stripped off, basically their energy, which is unfortunate, because I think that if you basically take like the mean people, the haters that just can't reform, they can't let it go. They can't let go of that hate and that control and that jealousy and pettiness, the Karenness, those people. If manifestation is real, basically, if you take all those people and you put them aside to their own reality, they're going to make their own reality, and I think that's hell, basically, because their own negativity is going to make their reality, and it's going to be ugly. But also, by taking them out, the other people will have a lot less negativity, and I think that it will get better. But I think we're in the process of that. I can't swear to it. It does say in the Bible that it's going to get ugly before it gets better, and I think that that's part of the process. Is basically all the energies just get ramped up and ramped up and ramped up, and it's hard on all of us because we're basically, getting so much energy pushed through us. And you either burn up or you somehow survive and you evolve. And it's like really fast forced evolution. So it's hard. And a lot of people will, it'll bring out your inner you, basically, whether all that stuff that you kept swept under the carpet that you didn't want to deal with, all your fears, all your negativities, all that stuff is getting pushed out, and you have to deal with it because you have no choice. So I think that that's what we're seeing. That's why people are acting crazy, and they're upset, and they're spaced out. It's hard. And some people, their inner self is just not that nice. It's ugly. And in my old timeline, people could kind of hide that, and you wouldn't really see it in their day-to-day activity, and it was just underneath. But now it's not going to be underneath. It's all out. It's all going to get put out on the table. And that's what I think is happening from what I see in the Bible and what I see around, is that might be why it has to get ugly before it gets better, because everything has to be out on the table. And there was a lot of ugly that was under, kind of undercover before. So basically everything gets amped up, and then the division happens. That is what I suspect is happening. That's why we have what we have right now. I mean, I can't prove it. That's just my feeling on how it is. And kind of just looking at, my own self and my own evolution and stuff I didn't want to deal with, and people around me, you can't hide your stuff anymore. It's pushed out constantly. It's exhausting. You pushed out more, then you have to deal with that, and pushed out more, and you have to deal with that. But some people, they aren't dealing with it. They're just, they chose the other route, and like this last shift, I mean, there were days when I was just, I just feel like it pushed out a lot more negativity for a few days for me, or I was just really felt kind of like, being snitty to people. And I really had to work on that. Like, that's not who I want to be. And it's kind of sometimes tempting, like, just, that guy's an idiot, and I'm just I'm gonna make him look like a complete moron with my post and like that. And had to fight that, and go, wait, I don't want to be like that. But some people aren't fighting it. Some people are just diving in with 2 feet. And you see all the trolls online just being horrible and telling everybody to go die. And, the level of trolling online just gets worse every month. It's just at a ridiculous level now. And so some people are just, they're going the other route, and I just want to, they don't realize where their heading. They're enjoying their nastiness and it's all fun, but that kind of negativity just leads you to a very bad place. And they don't realize that. So, that's why I try to say, think good thoughts. Whether you are all into the Bible or more spiritual stuff, that's the safe route. Don't be nasty. We're not all perfect. I know I'm not. But we got to work on it and try to head the route, head the good route. Try to think good thoughts. Try to be patient with people. These people are being nasty. If you can save any of them, because they don't know how bad it's going to be for them. So I feel like I kind of saw it, so I feel bad for them. Really, I do. So anyway, that's why I say think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.